We just talked about many of the new and exciting features coming with Avaya Call Reporting 4.0. Now let me show you those new features. And what you're currently looking at is the login screen to the new HTML user interface. As a reminder, the new HTML user interface supports standard reports, cradle to grave, the recording playback, the real-time agents, and a new contact center agent client. Now, much like Avaya Call Reporting Release 3.12, you get unlimited logins. So if you have 5 supervisors, you can have 5 supervisors. You have 20 people that need to have access to Avaya Call Reporting, you can give all 20 people access, and you can restrict what access do they have, which recordings can they listen to, can they download them, who can they run reports on. Now I'm going to log in as an administrator, which means I have full access to the software. Now the first time a customer logs in to the new HTML user interface, it has integrated onboarding and documentation. So it's actually going to walk them through the menu options. It's going to walk them through what everything means. Now, here you're looking at my standard reports. There are over 50 standard reports within Avaya Call Reporting. This new HTML user interface is going to show you who the owner of those reports are, who created them. If they're standard, it's going to say system report. How many times have you run this report? When was the last time you ran the report? And you can click on any of these column headers to sort as needed. You can also star the reports to tag them as your favorites, which will always put them at the top. Up in the top right-hand corner, you can switch it from a list view to a tile view. And the nice thing about the tile view, if you've run the report, it will show you some of the summary details from the last time you ran it. So maybe this sparks a memory and you want to follow up on, okay, oh, I did have a lot of abandoned calls on the 8th. How many did I have on the 9th or the 10th? I want to go run that report. Okay. You can also see a preview. If you click on the report, it will show you the call details from the last time you ran the report. So here I can see the last time I ran this was June 14th through the 17th. I have my summary details along the top. Down here I have my rows or my details, which this is an agent call summary, so I have my individual agents. Because this is now running in HTML, I can click on any of these column headers to sort alphabetically or numerically based off of ascending or descending values. So if I want to know who had the most calls or who had the least, I can see that. Who missed the most calls? I can easily find those details. You can add charts to the reports that will now run in HTML. You can do line charts, pie charts, or bar charts. I've got a lot of values there, so those are busy charts, but I can run those and apply those charts to any of the reports. If I want to run this report for a new time, I just simply hit configure. I can select my agents. Again, I can update my charts. Let's go ahead and select a new set of agents. As a reminder, you can run reports based off of roles or individual agents. Now, roles are groupings of users, so you don't have to select those users one at a time. Let's go ahead and pick on the sales team. Now let's just update our time frame. Perhaps I want to run this report for this week. So let's select the 7th through the 4th and apply. And now I have my report right at my fingertips. And again, I can click on any of these column headers. If I do want this in a different format versus HTML, I can click the download button and download that in a PDF format, JSON, CSV, Excel spreadsheet, and HTML. We'll come back to the download section here in a second. Okay. If I wish, I can now also schedule this report. If this is a report I want on a regular basis and I don't even want to log into the interface, I don't have to. I can schedule the reports from my main menu. I just click the ellipses tool on the right and select Schedule Report. I can also manage my previous schedules up here along the top. Here I can see I have 3 previously scheduled reports. If I want to add a new schedule, I just simply hit Add Schedule, and we'll just call this one Demo. Deliver to, we'll do training@avaya.com. If I want this to go to multiple email addresses, I just separate with a comma. I can also select the email link so it doesn't send me the file format or the actual file, it'll just send me a link to download that report. This is very useful if you have large reports because those might be large values and the customer's mail server may block that report. Again, that only applies if it's a really large file. Maybe I want to run this report and receive it in an Excel spreadsheet. How often do I want this report? Well, maybe I want this report weekly. You can receive reports hourly, daily, weekly, monthly. It's really up to you. I'm just going to select weekly, and maybe I want that 5 a.m. So when I get into the office Monday mornings, I can review last week's details. And here's where I select how often I want this report. We'll select weekly, and we want it to run every week. We hit next, and now I need to select what report do I want. One report I feel every customer cares about is abandoned calls. Maybe I want to know how often am I losing those calls, or maybe I want to see that by group abandoned calls. I just simply select that report. I can select multiple reports and schedule them at the same time, but we'll just do that one. Hit next. Now I need to just select what details show up when this runs on Mondays. Because this is going to run on the 12th, I'm going to select the week previous. Then when it runs on the following week, I'll have the next week, and so on and so forth. And then I'll just simply hit finish. And I now have my demo schedule. If I need to adjust that, I can click on any of these schedules or I can delete them. Now, one of the hidden values or enhancements within Avaya Call Reporting 4.0 is a new database called BlueDB. This database was designed and optimized for Avaya Call Reporting. So it allows you to run reports, and especially large reports with large user accounts, really quickly. Let me demonstrate how that works and allow you to see how quickly it'll run these reports. I'm going to select a detailed report. And if you're not familiar with a detailed report, unlike a summary, which is what I've shown so far, it just has summary details. A detailed report is going to list each call line by line. For this example, I'm going to select my agent calls report. You'll see here this report is too large to display, but let me show you why it's just too large of a report. I'm going to select my agents, and again I'm selecting all 76 users. We'll leave that the same. Now we're going to select our time frame, and let's update this to a new week. Let's do the last week in July and first week in August, and hit apply. And it's going to download this report, and it's going to take about 10 seconds or so to download this report. So we'll let that happen here. Okay, maybe not quite 10 seconds, maybe 15, but still fairly quickly. Now, let me show you why that report took 15 seconds and why it didn't run so quickly like the other reports. And again, 15 seconds is not that long. I'm going to run this and download it as a PDF. This report was 444 pages long. In Avaya Call Reporting Release 3.12, this report would have been better to be scheduled because it probably would have taken 15 minutes or 20 minutes to run a report that large. Again, 444 pages. It just went through and pulled all of those details. Now again, call reports show each call line by line, so it shows who called you, who did you call, did you have any internal calls, and I broke this out by each individual agent. So here I can see all of my agents. Here's all of Alexander Burns's calls. She had over 600 calls for the week, inbound, outbound, and internal. Again, a lot of great details, but when you run a large report like this, historically, that took a long time. With 4.0, that's now going to run rather quickly. But you wouldn't want to review a 444-page report in HTML, which is why it recognizes that and has you download it. And again, the different formats you can download the report are PDF, JSON, CSV, Excel, and HTML. Now, one of the last reports I want to show is a report, again, a lot of customers really find value to, and it's call volume reports. And I'm going to pick on the queue call volume. Now, the reason I'm picking on a queue call volume or a call volume report is there's two ways to view this report. You can view it as a summary, like you're seeing here. It's just showing you your summary details. But if I want to see, well, when did I have 177 calls come into the queue? I lost 65 calls. When are those calls happening? I can expand or open these details, and now I still see the same details, but it shows me that by hours out of the day. And when you filter or schedule this report, you can determine what format do you want to see. Do you want to see hours out of the day, days of the week, weeks of the year, months of the year? So you can adjust the time and format that this report is seen. And because it's running within the HTML interface, again, I can click on any of these column headers so I can see, when did I have the max calls in queue? Oh, it looks like the lunch hour and at 3 p.m., which was also the time I had the most amount of calls. And I answered them quite a few, but I also lost 5 calls, 4 in the queue, 1 outside the queue. Again, one of the nice things and unique to Avaya call reporting, if ever you have questions about the reports or you want to get more details, that's where Cradle to Grave comes in, which is also available in this new HTML interface. So I can simply select Cradle to Grave, select the date and time range that I want. And this is useful for many other reasons beyond validating the reports or seeing all the call details. It helps answer questions. I'm sure we all have those customers where they call in and they're saying, hey, I need to find out what happened because this customer's saying they got put on hold 5 different times, or they were on hold for 10 minutes, or they were in queue for 20 minutes. Well, were they really? Rather than trying to find that detail in the report, you can just go verify that very quickly. Let's go back to June 5th. See what happened a couple months ago and apply. I'm going to run this for all calls for June 5th, but you can filter this. Maybe I only want to see all calls to a particular group or from a particular phone number or to a particular agent. You can filter all of those details. But I decided to run this for all calls. And I can click on those calls and I can see, again, the cradle to grave details. What happened? What auto attendant did they go to? Where did they go from there? The appointments group. Who did they talk to? And you're going to see all of those call details. Now, you can search through the calls like this, or you can just simply hit the search button. Up along the top, you have the search option, and you can search for phone numbers, names, words. If it's in cradle to grave, it's going to find that. So I'm going to just search for the last 4 digits of my customer's phone number, 4757. Oh, and there it found that match. And I can see, okay, this was a 7-minute and 46-second call. They were in the auto attendant for 42 seconds. They rang and they got answered fairly quickly, 5 seconds. Sarah answered them, talked for a minute and 7 seconds. So far, we're off to a great start. But this is where they got upset. They said they were on hold for 10 minutes. Okay, looks like it was closer to 4.5 minutes. And then they talked. Well, maybe they also got upset because not just that they got put on hold for a long time. Maybe it's how Sarah handled this call. Well, new with Avaya Call Reporting 4.0 is a new way to record calls called active recording. You can pick and choose which calls get recorded. You don't need additional voicemail pros for this. It's going to request the audio through the DevLink 3 interface. So the same interface that's giving it the call details, you can now request the audio. It is the easiest way to deploy call recording with that Avaya Call Reporting. Let's go ahead and listen to what Sarah had to say. I'm going to pause that recording. When I press play, it opens up this embedded player along the bottom, and it has a nice wavepad view, so you can see when there was talking and when there was silence. You have a counter over here on the right. You can click and drag and play from any point. On the right-hand side, you have your menu option. Maybe you want to adjust your speaker. Maybe you want to add notes to the recording. You want to download it, or some additional options, such as maybe you weren't supposed to record this. You want to delete it. Or you want to email this recording or generate an external link. Maybe you don't want to send the actual WAV file to the customer. Let's just send them a link, and you can determine how long is that link valid. 5 days, 10 days. Customer, you have 10 days to listen to this recording, and when they open up that link, they can't download it, they can't do anything. It's just a simple embedded web player. You can also create a snippet. Maybe I only needed to send a portion of the call to the customer. Maybe just that section right there. Let's download that. Now, one of the cool things about the notes section is when you add a note, you can also drop a pin into the recording as long as it falls within the timestamp of the recording. So I can come in here and be like, oh, ask Sarah what happened on this call. Okay, and I can put that timestamp in there. Maybe I want to put 16 seconds. At 16 seconds, you can really tell and hear the tone change in the customer's voice. What happened? I'm confused. I can't hear it in the call, but maybe there's something else she can share. Maybe she has some history with this person. Here you can see, I can see that note here. I can see who entered that note. And then I drop that pin down there. And if I mouse over that pin, I can see, oh, the administrator asked what happened. So you can search for those notes just like a phone number. You can click on these notes here and it opens up that same player where you can view those notes, or you can click on the notes section down here. So kind of a new enhancement by dropping those pins into the recording. Okay, just like all the other calls, you can click on the column headers to sort the call, or you can use the filter option to really drill down and find calls. Maybe you want to see calls by specific agents, or by groups, or by call direction, or by call level, calls that were recorded that were over 20 minutes. You can view that here within Cradle to Grave. Okay, but let's go look at the real-time displays. This is also new within the HTML interface. You have new real-time wallboards and a new supervisor view. Now the supervisor view is going to allow you to see what your agents are doing in real time, and you can see what they were doing, how long they were doing it. This kind of marries together real-time agent timeline and group timeline into the same interface. Okay, what I mean by that is previously in via call reporting 3.12, you had the agent timeline, which would show you what your agents are doing. You had the group timeline, which would show you the queues. Now you can see both of that in the same interface. Across the top here, you have your group information. I don't have any calls in queue, but my average speed of answer today has been 20 seconds, so that's good. So I haven't had many max durations. I've had over 1,400 calls, so that's a great speed of answer. I'll take that. I can also see the agent state. How long have they been in that state? How much time they spent on the phone? Are they logged into their groups right now? But the nice thing about these values is you can change these. Maybe you don't like the default values and you want to adjust these. Maybe you don't want to see presented calls. You want to see abandoned calls. Maybe you don't want to see the talking duration. You'd rather see the idle duration or do not disturb duration. You can adjust these values. You can also switch it from a tile view to a list view. These are also customizable. Let me show you how easy it is. Maybe I want to go in and adjust the default values for the agents. And I want to get rid of the talking duration. And I'm going to add a new metric there, and we're going to just go ahead and do the agent state. Agent state, we'll put that in there. Hit apply. And now I have my agent state. What is the current state of the agent? What are they doing? The other nice thing about this new interface is it has great call control if you're using the Avaya Call Reporting Contact Center. Here I can monitor and I can see my agents and how many groups they're logged into. I can also see how many skill groups they're logged into. If you're curious what groups they're logged into, you can hit the menu option and view the active groups. See which groups they're logged into. This applies to both hunt groups and skill groups. So you can simply go through that. You can also manage the agent's skills. Maybe they're not logged into their skill groups and you want to do that as a supervisor. You have that flexibility. Maybe an agent needs to go on contact center, do not disturb. They're gone for the day. You don't want the system to continue to route them calls. I just put Jenna Bailey in do not disturb. If you're using active recording, and you want to listen live through this interface, you can do that. Again, you have to be using active recording, so you have to have the call recording. But if you do, you can listen live to your agents. I'm now listening to Brianna's conversation. If I need to change that or switch to another user, I just click on that user and live listens. Now I'm listening to Cody Price. You can also filter based off of agents and groups. So maybe you have a lot of queues, a lot of different groups and agents, and you want to filter that option very quickly. Maybe I only want to see the agents that are part of my main queue. Now it adjusts and shows me just those calls in that queue and shows me the agents that are part of that queue. And I can switch that and filter that as often as I need, and that is on a per login basis. You also have updated real-time wallboards within Avaya Call Reporting 4.0. The wallboards, just like the Java version, you can have as many wallboards as you want. You can create new wallboards, you can customize them, or you can configure and use template wallboards. Okay, and I can open these, and these are also very easy to configure and adjust. You have leaderboards, agent boxes, group boxes, title values, gauge widgets, bar charts, pie charts, but all have been updated for an HTML look and feel. You can put this into a full screen mode if that's what you want to see. Let's go ahead and just take a look at a couple more of the additional wallboards, maybe one that has some charts, as well as some alerts and triggers set up if calls are waiting in the queue. Here I see a lot of call activity happening all of a sudden. Calls come in and I can see how many calls are in queue. It changes colors based off thresholds. I can combine them into gauge widgets. I can see my max weight, average weight. Again, these wallboards, they can be customized to display what you want. Because they're also now HTML, you can mouse over the values to see additional information. Here I have a call distribution based off of my groups, and I can see customer service and the main queue are getting the most calls for today. But if I wanted to adjust this value, I can do that. I just simply edit the wallboard, and I can come in here and adjust. Do I want to see the call count? Do I want to add a different value? What value do I want to see? You have really endless options for those wallboards. Okay, we'll just go ahead and leave that what it was. You can also set the wallboards to loop. So if you do put this up on a flat screen TV, you can set up loop durations, and you can determine what wallboards are within that loop, how long do they loop before they rotate between the different wallboards. Okay, we'll go back to a couple more wallboards here. Maybe this contact center, we want to see our skills-based routing, queue callback. Do I have any pending queue callbacks? How many agents do I have logged in, logged out? And that's going to transition us into the contact center agent client. Okay, if you're looking at skills-based routing, you can have the calls route to your agents by skills: linear, most idle, circular, or intelligent, highest skill first. Previously, you've only had the option to have the calls route to the agent's phone. That could be an Equinox phone, it could be a desk phone. With the new contact center agent client, this can run in a WebRTC mode, which allows the agent to have the client act as their soft phone. Let me go ahead and log in first with the interacting with my desk phone. So I'm going to log in with my agent. Okay, from this interface, it's going to pull up my wallboard display. Just like the wallboards for supervisors, agents now have a personalized display that can be customized to display what is relevant to them. What does the supervisor want them to see? Here, I just got an alert. There are no agents ready. Please log in as soon as you can. I'm currently on my break. I'm on multimedia do not disturb. If I want to enable myself for calls, I can just do that right here. Again, if I want to put myself into a busy mode, I can do that. And I can also set those reason codes. Okay, these reason codes are customizable. This is per agent, so I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going on my break, or I'm going on a team meeting or training. And again, that is logged, and that can be monitored within the real-time wallboards. The agent states within the supervisor view we just monitored. Again, I'm going to get that alert because there are no agents logged in, and that supervisor set that alert to pop up if ever no agents are logged in on my screen. And this can be a bad thing because if calls start coming into the queue, there's no one available to answer that. Here I can see login count. I have a couple agents logged in here, but no one's available to take those calls. And sure enough, this is now updating on my display. I can see I have a call coming into ACR sales. And again, just like the wallboards, but on my contact center agent client, it's going to update. I can see a combination of calls waiting over here, max weight, and again, it can change colors. When I'm ready, if I want to enable myself to take this call, I can do that. And the system is going to then present that call to me. Here it comes. So I'm going to go ahead and answer this. In this mode, I'm currently having this work in a desktop mode. So it's still interacting with my phone. I did not enable this as a soft phone or that WebRTC. So I'm going to go ahead and answer that. And I no longer have that call in queue. I can no longer take any additional calls. There you can see it put me into a busy state because I'm on a voice call. I can then take this call, handle this call as much as I need, talk to the customer. I'm going to go ahead and hang up. And it's going to display my after call work timer if that is something that you configured. Here, my supervisor gave me 30 seconds, and that's going to count down. I can request more time, and the supervisor can determine how much time gets added. In this case, it's going to add 30 seconds. Maybe I completed my work faster, or I can just close this out and take my full minute and 15 seconds, but I'm going to say I'm done, and I'm now available for additional calls. Okay, so I can start to receive those calls. You also have your web chat. So here agents can enable themselves for voice calls and web chats. Now the web chat is configured within the Java applet, but the agents can now access those all from a single pane of glass. So let's go ahead and put a chat into the queue here. Here it saw that I'm available for that chat, and it popped up just like a call would, and I can accept that or I can reject that. However, that's going to be reported on within the reports, within the wallboards, if that's something the supervisor configured. I'm going to go ahead and accept that chat. You can also set the chat to send an auto response. There, I didn't have to type that out. It just automatically populated with that, told the customer who I am, asked how I can help. The customer can then type a question or whatever they need. Maybe they're going to say, I need help with reports. That's going to come across. And maybe that's something I can help with. Maybe it's not. What I can now do with this chat is I can send some canned responses. I could transfer this over to a different agent, or maybe, well, what report are you talking about? I can request that screenshot. So I'm going to request that screenshot. The customer can make that screenshot available and it will pop up on my screen. Maybe I want to say, it looks like you need support. Okay, but rather than typing that out, again, I can select from those canned responses. So maybe I'm going to go ahead and say, looks like you need support. Let me transfer you. And I have the ability to transfer that. But within the Avaya call reporting, you can allow the agents to handle multiple chats. Oftentimes when it comes to chatting, customers aren't chatting that quickly. Usually there's long pauses in between. So I'm going to set and allow this agent to accept multiple chats. Okay, and then when chats come into the queue, and if they're the only agent available, it's going to present to that agent. Okay, here comes another chat. Again, the supervisors get to determine how many simultaneous chats can the agent work with. Can they handle calls at the same time? Again, if a call were to come into the queue, that would present to me because I am the only agent that is currently logged in, and I can transfer and toggle between my different chats. And as calls pop up, I can then accept and answer those calls. Okay, so I can tag my information. There's my phone call. On that phone call, I can tag information. I can add custom notes. I'm going to go ahead and put training call. I'm going to post that to the database. That's also going to show up in that recording if I was recording this call with active recording. I can go back to the details. I can also click and add account codes if that's something you're using. You have that same flexibility and freedom within the reports. You can add notes. There I finished the phone call, so it gave me my after call work time. I'm going to say I need more time so I can finish these chats, and we're going to close that out. Okay, so I can come in here, add notes to the chats. I can see call details, and I can add account codes to the chat. And I'm going to go ahead and say hi over to my second chat, and again I can toggle between my chats. I'm going to go ahead and end those chats, and all of those are logged back within your cradle to grave interface. You can see those chats within the wallboard. So you can see chats and calls, call details, chats waiting, chat states, all within the wallboards, as well as within the reports and cradle to grave. Let's go ahead. I'm going to go back to that June 5th and show you some of the chats. Because you actually have cradle to grave details on web chat. You can see how long the customer sat in queue. How long were they on your website before they chatted with an agent? Did the agent request a screenshot? Did they transfer them? You're going to be able to see all of those details. And here I can see my chats. There's got my recording. If I want to expand, I can see again the chat details. I have the chat log if I want to expand that out so it's a little easier for me to read. I can do that. I can see what the customer said as well as what my agent did. And if they did transfer them over, I can see that. For instance, here Elizabeth requested a screenshot. But because of that chat log, I can now see kind of why they requested that screenshot. And then I want to see what happened later in the chat. I can do that as well. Okay, and you'll also see who closed the chat. Who's the one that ended it? Did the agent end the chat or did the customer end the chat? Let's go and log out of my contact center agent client and enable the WebRTC mode. Again, the feature functionality is going to be about the same. The only difference is now instead of having to rely on a physical phone, I can have this run as my soft phone. It does have an authentication where they enter an additional password, which is the phone password. This does require them to be a power or an office user. Now I'm logged in as an agent using soft phone mode. Again, I can enable myself to take those calls. If I need to take that break, I have that same feature functionality. I can go on my multimedia, do not disturb. This time I'm going to maybe perhaps take my lunch. But while I'm on my lunch, maybe I want to make a call. Again, this is running in my phone. I can call some of my other agents, or I'm going to go ahead and dial an outbound number. Maybe I need to call my boss, but he's not in the office today. Oh, I'm getting that alert, but that's okay. It's my break, and I'm going to make that call. You can also tag groups that should be associated to these outbound calls. So if you want to run reports on outbound calls for groups, you can do that. The agent has the ability to pause and stop the recording. I need to record this call from the current time. This is a call I was supposed to record. I have my customer information over here on the right, who I called. Do I want to tag the notes? Do I want to tag account codes to these details? Do I need to put this caller on hold? Do I need to mute myself, or maybe I need to transfer this caller? I can do that. And the same would apply for inbound calls as well. Again, for my contact center, I don't want to be on break anymore. I'm finished with my call. Call comes in. It's now going to pop up directly to my screen. There's the call in queue. I'm going to answer that. Okay, and I have answered that call from my WebRTC client, my soft phone. I didn't have to use my desk phone for that call. And again, I have the ability, if I need to, I want to transfer this over to that cell phone number. I'm going to transfer it. What is it I want to do? When I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and hang up, and it goes back to my dashboard display. The agents can have multiple dashboards. So if you want additional displays and they don't want to be married to just one display, they can have multiple displays that they can toggle from back and forth. The agents can also go view their call history, where they can see phone calls, they can see their web chats, they can see all that information. So if they needed to go make any updates to those, they can. Oh, I forgot to put a note, or I forgot to put an account code. They have that ability. Now let me end with a couple of things about Avaya Call Reporting 4.0 that is quite unique. Within the interface, you do not have to update to the HTML interface. One of the best things about 4.0 is you can toggle back and forth between the HTML user interface and the Java interface. So if you like some of the things that existed within the existing applet, from this interface you can go straight to the Java interface, which allows you to run reports, customize reports, view your recordings, view wallboards, view your agents, manage your contact center. So it can allow for the same feature functionality through a different user interface, but it also offers some additional feature functionality as well. Here is where your customer would manage and configure their skills. They can easily add agents to those skill groups. They can easily add skills. There's some new additional features within the skill group, such as max calls allowed in queue, clear queue end of day, callback offer window. So maybe you only want to offer queue callback between certain hours out of the day. That is a new feature within Avaya Call Reporting 4.0. You can also determine on a per skill level, how many times do you want to call a customer back before you just give up on that call? Maybe they just don't keep answering. You don't want to call them back indefinitely. Maybe we only want to call them back a couple of times. Maybe you don't want to attempt the return number. By default, what the queue callback does is it reads the customer's phone number back, but maybe you don't want to rely on that. You want to force the customer to a name or to enter a number they want to get a call back on. And then you can also tell them their estimated wait time for that queue callback. Those are some new features within the skills-based routing and the queue options. As I mentioned, active recording is extremely easy to deploy and configure for 4.0. When you have active recording, to determine who gets recorded, you simply select your recording and then manage recording rules. You're going to create recording rules, and you can do this by inbound number dialed, external number. So maybe you want to record every time you call a customer or they call you. You want to record based off of agents, which again are just your users. You don't have to record just your contact center users. You can record anyone in the office. So Avaya call reporting and active recording can just be a recording solution and reporting. Doesn't need to be contact center, but it's great if it does need to be contact center. You can also record based off of groups. These are ACR scale groups as well as IP office hunt groups. And then basic call events where maybe you only want to record the talking events or maybe you want to record what was said on hold. The active recording allows you to do that. And you can record all types of calls, inbound, outbound, and internal. I hope you have enjoyed what you've seen here today. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask those and type those into the chat field, and I'll respond to those as those come in. And again, thank you for your time here today, and I look forward to talking with you all.